Did America's favorite crooner have a dark mystery behind the curtain? Life turned into whatever, however, best, regardless of his mythical popularity in Hollywood, because of his smooth voice and timeless hits. The fact approximately Bing Crosby's life is greater startling than anybody should have ever imagined. Ranging from circle of relatives, scandals, to accusations that broken his impeccable reputation, become he truly the horrific man a few people said he become, watch to the stop. To learn the untold truth, one of the maximum recognizable personalities in American leisure history is Bing. Crosby, he became a cultural phenomenon in the center of the 20th century and dominated the media for many years along with his warm baritone voice and easygoing charm. Crosby mounted a recognition as a pure all-American performer with classic hits like White Christmas and Oscar-winning roles in movies like Going My Way. He became the pinnacle of success, elegance, and charm in a time while Hollywood became regarded for its glitz, but under the nicely polished floor, a miles greater complicated story became informed. Crosby's personal lifestyles changed into tainted with the aid of scandal in the back of closed doors, which includes claims of violent conduct and demanding relationships with his relatives. The later darker accounts of his personal lifestyle stood in evident distinction to his public image as America's preferred crooner. In line with his kids, mainly his oldest son Gary, he changed into an excessive authoritarian father whose acts allegedly prompted lifelong wounds. A heated discussion concerning the legend becomes sparked with the aid of these revelations, changed into Bing Crosby, a made from his era, a less than perfect person beneath severe strain, or something darker. How should the legacy of a person who changed into so widely loved be so shadowed? The highs and lows of Crosby's profession, as well as the scandals that threaten to damage his reputation, are all uncovered in this video. Stay tuned as we discover the intricacies of a Hollywood legend whose lifestyles become something, however, honest. As in addition to fame and family revealing the untold elements of his tale, Bing Crosby became an institution. Not only a singer, he turned into one of the maximum wealthy performers of the 20th century. For decades, Crosby dominated song, radio, and film way to his heat baritone voice and easygoing charm. He had become a household name and transformed the recording enterprise with hits like Swinging on a Star and White Christmas. Crosby had problems on his direction to stardom. Pressures extended along with his fame, and his perfectionism often affected those closest to him, even though he presented himself as a friendly and laid-back returned entertainer. In public, rumors of a more complicated and bothered non-public existence began to surface after his passing. 1977 enthusiasts and historians could need to don't forget the duality of the man behind the music. Because of those revelations, which might abolish the foundations of his carefully constructed image, when Gary Crosby, Bing's eldest son, launched his memoir, Going My Own Way, in 1983, the facade of Bing Crosby's best-owned family existence fell aside. According to the book, his father seriously abused him physically and emotionally. In step with Gary, Bing turned into a strict disciplinarian who often used harsh methods to uphold his requirements. He related times wherein Bing might use a belt blanketed with steel to subject him and his brothers, leaving them emotionally and physically damaged. Gary C.L. claims that Bing's controlling and fear-based, totally parenting fashion poisoned the surroundings for them. One mainly traumatic tale worried Bing's fixation on his children's weight. Gary remembered having to step on a scale and receiving punishments if they did not live up to Bing's excessive expectancies. These incidents left Gary with physical and emotional scars that could, closing a lifetime. His love life, as nicely wasn't left out, the complications of his perfectionism. Dixie Lee, a rising Hollywood big name, famed for her beauty and acting, and making a song on the rise, married Bing Crosby in 1930. Dixie, who turned into born Wilma Wyatt in 1911 in Harmon, Tennessee, became widely recognized in the entertainment enterprise previous to her come-upon with Crosby. The couple married in a personal rite on September 29, 1930. After their romance quickly blossomed, Bing's short achievement in show business was accompanied by means of Dixie's marriage to him. As Crosby's profession took off, his voice dominated radio report sales and films. Dixie decided to put their family before her own blossoming career. Lindsay twins Dennis and Philly and Gary had been the couple's 4 sons. Their marriage was something, however, idyllic in spite of their seemingly glamorous way of life. Bing's traumatic career frequently stored him away from domestic circumstances, and Dixie struggled with the needs of being married to a celebrity. Their dating changed into seriously strained due to these separations, and the problems of elevating 4 children Dix would conflict for a big part of her lifestyles with tension and coffee, self-esteem which led her to turn to alcohol for comfort. Friends and family defined her as fragile and sensitive, and her ingesting accelerated through the years. Recognized for his very own rigorous area and unwavering consciousness on his work, Bing regularly struggled to deal with Dixie's hardships. No matter his excessive love for her, Dixie felt alone and unsupported because of his tendency to lose himself in his paintings. Their domestic was greatly impacted by using Dixie's alcohol ISM. Consistent with reports, there was plenty of pressure in their domestic expectations, and Bing had a strict and authoritarian parenting fashion at the time. The children were raised in a turbulent family where every figure struggled with their personal troubles. Dixie's consuming had started to negatively affect her health through the overdue 1940s. She allegedly made an attempt to cope with her dependency, but her frame became broken from years of abuse. The own family turned into devastated when Dixie became diagnosed with ovarian most cancers in 1952. She did her first class to provide for her family, no matter her illness. However, on the age of 40, Dixie Lee Crosby died on November 1st, 1952. Her passing turned into a watershed in Bing's life. Her loss had a profound effect on him, in step with pals and co-employees, and he felt guilty for no longer being capable of more to save her. Moreover, her demise created a vacuum within the Crosby domestic, which made Bing's courting, along with his kids, even extra strained. Each Crosby's fan base in Hollywood were rocked by way of Gary's memoir. With this knowledge, Crosby's fan base in Hollywood were rocked by way of Gary's memoir. The reality that the man who made the arena so glad may be able to such behavior astonished many. The disclosures broke in Crosby's recognition and cast doubt on his legacy inside the eyes of a few others. However, defended Crosby, claiming that Gary's portrayal became overblown. In line with buddies and co-workers, Bing became raised in a time when dad and mom often used extreme area. They implied that Crosby's behavior became inspired by his upbringing and the incredible pressures of movie star, despite the fact that they did not. To assist his moves, one must begin with Bing Crosby's upbringing that allows you to higher apprehend his complexity. Harry Liss Crosby changed into born in Tacoma, Washington on May 3, 1903. Bing, who changed into the 4th of 7 children born to Catherine and Harry Lincoln Crosby, grew up in a big Irish-American Catholic family. Whilst Bing changed into best 3 years vintage, the circle of relatives moved to Spokane, Washington in search of more balance and higher possibilities. The Crosby-owned family led a simple working-class lifestyle, whilst his mother, a committed Catholic, ran the home and taught her youngsters a sturdy sense of morality, and Subject Bing's father was a bookkeeper, using pressure that emphasizes the cost of education. Difficult paintings and faith Bing showed in hobby in track and overall performance at an early age. His love of a comedian strip known as the Bingville Bugle earned him the nickname Bing when he became younger. At some stage in his faculty years, he participated in quite a few musical activities and validated a natural flair for rhythm and melody, giving him the nickname Bingo, which his pals used to tease him and finally shortened to Bing following his dad and mom's choice. For a stable and honorable career, Bing enrolled at Gonzaga University in Spokane in 1920 with the goal of studying regulation. But it changed into not possible to ignore his love of track. Bing started gambling drums and acting in nearby bands, including the musical ARS. While he turned into a Gonzaga pupil, his preference to pursue a profession in leisure became ignited by using those early performances. Bing struggled to strike a stability among his research and his passion. Even though his musical interests had been growing, he left Gonzaga earlier than earning his degree in 1924 and joined a local band fronted with the aid of singer-pianist Al Rinker. They made the choice to journey to Los Angeles to be able to strive their hand on the song commercial enterprise. Crosby's character and painting's ethic were inspired by way of his upbringing in a devout, non-secular-owned family. His outlook on life and work become formed by means of his mother and father emphasis on self-discipline and resilience. However, his complicated character become additionally motivated by using his upbringing. His mom's strict Catholic ideals and the demands and temptations of Hollywood collided, causing battle in both his non-provident and expert lives. Bing's early years had been characterized by a mixture of humble beginnings near family tie and an unwavering will to be successful, in addition to preparing him for the needs of movie star. These reports formed the pressure and backbone that could catapult him to the top, despite the fact that his ascent to repute was characterized by charisma and skill. The concepts and teachings of his childhood had an enduring effect on him all of his existence. It's far not possible to comprehend Crosby's tale without contemplating the societal context of his era parenting. Normally, the good Crosby had been very distinct inside the middle of the 20th century than they're now. Emotional stoicism turned into regularly regarded as a virtue, and corporal punishment turned into generally widely practiced rules of the law to Crosby have become a cultural icon throughout World War II, representing the tenacity and patriotism of the American people. But his non-private life became additionally impacted by means of the expectations society located on guys in. But don't you worry, this term, stoicism, subject, and authority, have been valued inside the put-up conflict ideal of masculinity, and Bing exemplified those characteristics in both his public persona and his private parenting method, for the reason that fathers have been presupposed to hold order and pursue that ideal as a mission in life. To watch people go through the torments of suffering and misery leads us to foster resilience of their families. Those cultural norms would possibly have performed a function in his authoritarian parenting style. Together with his first technology of kids further to bring in prosperity, the submit conflict economic increase of the 1950s extended social pressures regarding own family values and success at some stage in this time when Qing in cultural values commenced to emphasize a greater nurturing technique to fatherhood, often reflecting both the have-an effect on of his new spouse and larger societal shifts. The difficulties faced through his first wife Dixie, Lee, and their youngsters had been probable, made worse by way of the stigma that society locations on addiction and intellectual fitness households like the Crosby needed to cope with these issues, primarily on my own, inside the center of the 20th century due to a lack of knowledge and sources. Enormous social and technological trade happened in the course of Bing Crosby's lifetime, which stimulated his private struggles and superiority's career even though he changed into a hit entertainer. The social pressures of his era additionally made his relationships complicated and highlighted the variations between his families. His story, which captures the victories and setbacks of his era, is irretrievably hyperlink related to the cultural environment of a converting America. But the seriousness of the accusations against Crosby went beyond what became commonplace on the Times, posing extra profound queries approximately his character. Did his man or woman virtually change as a result of Dixie's passing? The problems of being a single father and his twad marriage, a brand new chapter in Bing Crosby's life one, characterized by way of stability and a softer technique to circle of relatives, started along with his second marriage to actress Katharine Graham, 2 years after Crosby's first wife Dixie Lee passed away. The couple first met in 1954. On the time Katharine was a budding actress and Bing became a 51-year vintage international star, their common Catholic religion and values cast a near bond. Despite their age difference, on October 24, 1957, they had been married in a low-key ceremony that mirrored Bing's want for seclusion and a more straightforward family life. Having acted in films which include Anatomy of a Murder within The Seven Little Foe, Katharine took a run from acting to pay attention on her roles as a mother and spouse. Harry, Mary, and Nathaniel have been the couple's 3 youngsters.